This is one of the episodes which falls into a different category because I'm not interviewing a coach today. I'm interviewing a personal branding photographer. That's Marcus Ahmad. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you, Rob, and thanks for welcoming me to the show.
We met in the world of networking, but we found that we've got a connection that lies outside of photography and outside of coaching, and it's something that binds us together. What would you say that is?
Well, we've got a desire to both help men, if that's what you're talking about.
That is what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. What drove you to kind of want to focus on the area at this point in time?
In my field of work, which is personal branding photography, I work a lot with solopreneurs and smaller businesses. It's predominantly dominated by women, and a lot of my clients are women, and a lot of branding photographers are women, which is great, and it's great seeing those people being part of the industry. But I do find it skewed very much towards the women's side, towards the female side. And I thought, well, what's happening to the guys? Who's photographing the guys? Who's getting the guys out there with their personal branding? Who's helping them out? And I thought, well, gosh, there's nobody really specializing doing that. So, I scour the internet, both here in the UK and in America. No, nobody's doing it. And I'm thinking, well, what's going wrong here? Why is there this disconnect between this amazing service that can be done that can really make people feel more confident, promote their businesses, promote themselves? Why is this service not being picked up by guys? So, this is why I started this journey into looking into how I can help people out with it, help guys out with it. Personal branding photography is quite a new thing. I mean, it comes back from the days of old when people who had a brand who needed to promote it were film stars, pop stars, people like that. That's you would read about them in the papers, you would know about them, you'd be discussing them, you feel you're connected to them. Personal branding photography has only really taken off in these last maybe 3 years. The lack of knowledge starts because it is quite new. The internet has brought along the fact that everybody has now got a personal brand. It's no longer the regime of those pop stars and rock stars, pop and film stars. It's the individual. We've all got it because of Facebook, Instagram. All women and girls are great at getting on the internet and talking to each other. And okay, the word that's in my head is touchy-feely. It's an awful word. I'm trying to think of something else, but let's just put it out there. They're very good at networking, talking to each other. Guys, I think it's all a bit new to us. We're used to being down the pub, having a pint or whatever, and talking things with your mates that way, not on a social media.
Mm. So the touchy-feely, we could rebrand that.
Thank you. Can you think of something better than touchy-feely? Because that is not a good word, is it?
It's connection, and connection on our terms. And I mean that for anyone. On what terms do you want to connect with somebody? And if what I see that personal branding photography that you do is that these are services that or someone that other people invest in. They want that person because they're the service that they're providing. That's how I see part of personal branding photography. And so it pays to go to new depths to find out who somebody is. And I think that's what comes across from your work is that you produce those layers and that the depth of somebody within the images that you produce.
It's all about working with people and photographing people. So that's what I'm interested in. I don't do anything else apart from really, we could say portrait photography. And I'm really interested in this connection of telling people's story through the photograph. There's a lot of power in a single photograph. You look at it and immediately, within a second, they say, less than a second, you can start building up a judgment about that person.
So you're helping people tell a story that they can't tell themselves. That's what comes across.
I like it. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. And as you said, that the picture speaks 1,000 words, and you said it's under a second in which that first impression is made. But there seems a lot of depth to those images that you're producing. I wonder what it's like for your clients. What kind of comments or feedback do you get from them about the end product that you then present back to them?
I tell you, it always starts with, I don't like being photographed, But then at the end, they want more. People love it because it's not the experience that they're expecting, I think.
But what happens to them? What do you see happen to them in that process?
Well, they become more, okay, I'll use this word, it's a buzzword, which is a bit annoying, but authentic. What that really means is open to debate. But they become more real. Instead of going like that, or the old Christmas card, whatever pose, they become, you can see the layers peeling off in front of you, and you can see, you can really, it's a very subtle thing. And I shoot a lot really fast, and people think, oh, why are you taking so many photographs so quickly? And yet everyone is different, really slightly different, but different. Really, the thing that helps the most is the time. It's just, I don't, spending an hour with somebody as a minimum is really how long it takes for people to get relaxed in front of the camera, and a bit of banter and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you're helping people and men try something new, which is challenging. The letting go of the perception they have of themselves, and then what emerges then out of that when you're getting towards the end of that first hour or end of a session?
A beautiful butterfly.
Oh, love it! Yeah. And go on then, give me some detail on the butterfly, because I think when we have layers and we hold on to them, if you imagine that we're wearing like 10 jackets, those are our layers.
Yeah.
When you take those off, you're going to feel different. So I wonder, what do you suspect, or what do you know about your clients in terms of the way they feel and how that difference changes them?
Well, I can just see the end result. I mean, I just know how they use their photographs, and then people start to, on their websites and their LinkedIn profiles or wherever it's going to be, and they get back all these positive affirmations about it, and they feel better themselves. They feel more confident. They want to show their photograph more. And, that's why in part of my pitch, I say it will these will help you attract your ideal client, because it builds your confidence up. You show your photographs more with social media, with websites. The more the more you get out there, the better it's going to be. So ultimately, I would say fairly confidently that the end result is people improve their lives. Even if they get just one photograph and they put it, nobody sees it, and they put it on their wall, and they think, oh, that was me, and I'm very happy with myself at that particular moment. That itself is enough, that's also enough.
So the personal branding, we know we're using this for people to use in their business.
Yes.
But the way you're describing what you're doing is you're helping speak a new kind of language. So you're stripping off the layers, which are probably layers that many people have, and so you can access them, the essence of them, and capture that in a moment. And those moments, I think, are really important because they're really true of them, by the sounds of it.
It's true. Right. We've got lots of different sides to our personality, so that truth can vary.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay.
Now, okay, look, the reason I'm sort of holding back a bit here, because there's a whole debate about the truth of photography. And photography, ultimately, if we really dig deep into it, there's no truth in photography. It's all set up, etc. It's completely subjective. There's no objectivity. Many photographers try to become objective, but it's impossible, because as soon as you point a camera at something, you are making a judgment, and you're deciding that's how I want it to look. So to avoid that it is subjective. That's the deep side of it. But nevertheless, though, I think it's still a great way of presenting yourself is the photograph.
I understand what you're saying, but I think maybe there's a purity to it, because you're taking your clients somewhere they can't go by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do what you do I can't do that by holding my phone up and getting a selfie. So there's that kind of the collaboration between the two of you, and you both need to invest the energy, but the result comes out for that particular client.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can just see that there's a value in stripping the layers back. So it makes you stand out amongst whichever arena, your professional arena you're trying to operate in. So someone can recognize something in that image and say, I want to know more about that person. Or
Exactly.
right.
That's it. That's my job, isn't it? You know, being a fashion or advertising photographer. And that's what my background. That's what I lectured in. It was all my modus operandi was about getting the public who flick through a magazine like really quickly like that, or look at a billboard or surrounded by it, to hold their gaze for longer than any other image. That is my goal, and that is the goal for my clients as well.
Right. So I'm now, based on what you just said there, I'm going to offer part of this life purpose statement that I try to offer for every person I interview. So I'm going to talk about the impact you have. And what you do, I think, is that you enable the world to hold their gaze on your client's greatness.
Lovely. Very nice. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Describe the flicking through the magazine and then, oh, you know, I recognize something here that I want to know more about.
Exactly.
And it can't happen without that process that you take them through.
That's exactly right. You know, and exactly that's what photography is all about. Portrait photography is all about.
I mean, I have seen plenty of your images, and I mean they are outstanding.
Thank you.
But I love your humility as well. If I were, let's say, to be able to peek through a window in the nicest possible way and observe you operating during a photo shoot, what would I see happening in you? What would I come away and be able to describe to somebody else about you, yourself, during a photo shoot?
Well, I think this is where the similarities between you and me, dare I say, come in. Well, okay. In that I'm coaching people to be confident in front of the camera.
Right.
You have to be able to read people quite quickly. I would like to think of myself as being fairly empathic, where I can sort of connect and understand the mood of people fairly quickly. And I think as a photographer, portrait photographer, that's a good skill to have. And you've got to be good at listening and asking questions. You've got to have an inquiring mind. First of all, you want to be interested in those people, you know, and I am interested in people. And luckily everybody's interesting. Everybody's got something to tell. I've always thought that right from my days of being a student of photography. I always thought, wow, everybody's got a story to tell, you know.
So you're interested in that story. And so that's maybe what you get out in the image, is something that represents their story.
I would hope so. I would really hope so. Something that represents their story at that particular time, you know, and with that particular that choice, what we make. Oh, I like that one as opposed to that one, you know. But yes, so it's part of the. So that is making them feel at ease first of all, and then of course, you know, the technical side to it, finding the right light for them, you know, the beauty dish, the softbox, deciding what lens suits them, you know. Getting the styling looking good and all those kind of more technical side to it. And then it's just a question, well, I say thus, it's a question of just photographing until people are almost bored of it, really. I've probably taken hundreds of thousands of photographs of people, not different people, but hundreds of thousands of photographs. And I always know when I've got it, what I want, but I don't. And I say, okay, we've got it. I put the camera down and I look through, and it's like, yeah, okay, I did get it. And I don't know why I got it at that. I think I've got it right. But when I look through it, yeah, invariably I've got it right.
In that process of you capturing that image, if you could just kind of press pause and stand outside of yourself and look back at you with your camera.
Oh, yes.
What would you say is true of you in that moment? That's what I'm trying to get drill down to, is what's happening inside Marcus whilst he's performing that service.
Do you know what? Lots of self-doubt. Oh my God, you know, are the lights right, this and that? But then a brief moment of clarity, And when I get that brief moment of clarity, that's when I've got it right. And when I'm looking through photographs with the client or with myself, trying to decide which one I want to go for, I always look at them really, really quickly, the contact sheet, really, really quickly, and not without thinking about it. And immediately, bang, you just know which one to go for. If you start thinking about it and started, oh, is that one working for you or not? It doesn't work quite so well. And I think it's this idea of your subconscious taking over. And I do believe that is the point. So does that answer your question? Or am I
No,
not answering your question by talking about something completely different? Like I
no,
normally do?
you're talking. So okay. Then, from my interpretation of what you're saying, is that I think you have a lot of confidence in your own abilities to trust your intuition, your gut, your instincts. You got like an animal instinct that when you're in that flow, that you will have got it in there. You would have captured it. So long as you're in that state of flow, you're in the right. So you're turning up in the right way to get that result, and you get there by being emotionally intelligent, by being interested, by operating with empathy, and all of this stands on the shoulders of your technical ability as well. So that's kind of a given. You know how to do all that stuff. You're relating to somebody and coaching them, and when all those things are in place, you then start your process of photography. You get into your flow, and when you are fully in flow, it's happened. It's like almost a bit of nuclear fusion. It's happened, and we need to capture that now.
That's right, exactly. I noticed you're using the word flow. That's because that's like you're drawing there from your sports background, isn't it? That's flow is very important in the sports and pre-visualization.
It is. I think it's a moment where you get lost in something.
Yeah, when you get lost in something.
Getting lost in something.
Yes, I know all about getting lost in things. That's for sure. Because music is my other great passion, of course, as you might not know or know. And I did music. I've been playing bass guitar for about 45 years.
Wow.
And that is talking about flow. That is because that's quite a long time to play an instrument. I'm quite proud of the fact that I've been doing. I obviously started when I was 3 years old. I just want to point that out there.
Obviously.
Yeah. But that is the time picking up my bass guitar, and you just start playing. You just completely get in. That is flow, completely flow, without even thinking about notes, timing, or anything. That is what that is my meditation for me. That is, and I think that's practice, isn't it? And you to get into those situations, just doing something for a long time before you get any good at it, really.
So, I mean, the moment you talk about in your first photography sessions and playing the bass, I am assuming, and it sounds like there's definitely some commonalities between the two places that you get flow.
Yeah, definitely. Music more so because I've been doing it longer, and it is a slightly different process with music as well. But yeah, I mean, I should point out, I'm not saying I'm really good at doing things. Those are the only two things I do. I don't do anything else. I just want to point that out there.
No judgment coming from me, and I know that you do the photography very well, and I've been told about your music career. What kind of message do you want men to hear, do you think, through your work?
That's a very good question, and that's a very deep question. I try not to ask me anything too deep because now I can't find the message. I mean, there is a message. No, I'm being a bit silly. There is a message here. It's like, guys, come on, level up, get out there, get yourself out there, start putting yourself out in. I'm going to talk about it on business levels because that's what I predominantly deal with people on business with business. It's get your face, get your personality, embrace yourself and get out there just in the same way as a lot of my female clients do. They've got doubts. They will come in with a lack of confidence, exactly in the same way as, guys do. But I think they've got role models. They see, oh, so-and-so, Baroness Monet, whoever it might be, is out there being photographed, putting herself front and center. So they got role models. With guys, there's maybe not such many role models. Though there are actually. Richard Branson. Oh my God. I mean, my favorites are Paul Smith. There's loads of guys out there who are really good at projecting their images and using their personality to promote their brand. And yeah, I love Paul Smith. Obviously, he's comes across as being a really genuine guy. He's really creative, quite eccentric. He's got an amazing company, obviously, very successful. And I think it's a great example of a guy. He's in his 70s, Rob, in his 70s, still out there embracing the world.
And embracing who he is. Obviously, he is a large part of his brand.
Yes.
And so I think I could maybe summarize what you do is you're allowing part of someone to speak that has a valid thing to say about themselves, but can often get pushed back somewhere. Maybe the female world has done a better job of allowing that person to speak. We know that women talk more freely about how they feel, are in touch with that side more frequently, I think, than maybe men are. We know that men are great when they do start talking, and you're allowing that part of them to be activated. But like anything, if it's something we're not used to doing, it's going to feel a bit funny or a bit weird or a bit challenging in the first place.
Yes, and it is a new thing, as we said earlier in the show. It is this whole idea of promoting your personal brand is very new. We got a lot to offer, guys. We got a lot to offer. I think we should be showing the world, showing ourselves off. I'm doing a photography book at the moment called Grey Matters, with the S's in brackets. Very important that. Yeah. And it's all about guys who are over 50 who are reinventing themselves or doing something a little bit different.
What interests you about that?
Well, it's obviously about me, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm obviously over 50, and all reinventing myself, going back for a different type of photography, and always looking for something new. So it's partly about me, but what I'm interested about it is when I get to meet these people, and they inspire me.
Right. Okay. That was my question. Was going to probably include that answer. I think the challenge you talk. Well, I see it as a challenge for men, older men. So I'm 45 as of yesterday.
Yes. Happy birthday!
Thank you very much. I was obviously fishing for that. But do you see that as an age-based challenge in terms of putting ourselves out there as older individuals and male individuals?
Yeah, we are in an age-based society with this dichotomy, with this juxtaposition, as it were, of people getting older.
Can't help that.
No, and what people living longer, more older people around. So we're in this very sort of society, which is sort of, or maybe it's changing. I think it's changing. I think there's going to be older people are going to be more appreciated in years to come.
Right. Okay. Especially if they appreciate themselves.
Lovely. Especially if they appreciate themselves. Exactly right, Rob. And
you do that. You help them do that.
Hopefully. I hope.
No, you do. You do. I'm going to say you do. I think that's really important to say because, that's got to start at home. And if you're going to use yourself to sell your business, you've got to appreciate yourself. And so going through the process with you in the studio, you're helping them do that. And you're mining for that kind of, that one shot you talk about that when you've got it. So here we go. We've got evidence. Appreciate that,
Exactly. No, and it's great. People leave the studio with that print. Well, obviously not these days, but metaphysically, that print in their hand, feeling good about themselves. And they say, look, I want to show this to everybody. How brilliant is that, really?
Right. So, now they've got the desire for themselves. I want to show you this because...
Yeah.
Well, what's the because there? I want to show you this picture of me because...
Well, I think that depends on the individual. I don't think I'm not going to come out with a blanket statement on that, Rob. I think that depends on the individual and their own feelings about themselves, really.
What's been one of the most significant, without obviously, divulging anything that's sensitive, but what's been one of the most significant photo shoots and the impact that you've had for somebody?
Gosh. Okay, do you know what? I'm going to talk about my last photo shoot, which was yesterday. As a commercial photographer, all we think about is our last job or our next job. That is it, really. I don't put my work in galleries and stuff, so I'm always thinking about the last one. And the Simon who came and got photographed for me for some corporate work, some headshots for LinkedIn and stuff like that. And he was really good in front of the camera. And I said, look, we've done the corporate stuff. Why don't we just do something a bit more unusual, a bit more dramatic. So I changed the lighting around, and I said, look at you there. You look completely different. You look like you're an actor. And he goes, God, he said, I could be an actor. I've always wanted to be an actor. I said, well, look, you look. I tell you, if you went that and took that to an agency, and I've dealt with a lot of agencies, they would take you on because you've got the right face for a guy, that the camera loves you or whatever. So he's going away now thinking and hoping that he's going to get into changing career and becoming an actor.
I love that. That wouldn't happen until you've had that interaction and done that work together.
No, he didn't even think about it.
And sometimes we're never far from a big change. It's not like a massive shift that's needed. It's just this.
Yeah, no, that's right, Rob. And change is always good, isn't it? Change is one thing I've learned in life. Change, even though it's probably shit at the time, it always works out really well, doesn't it? You think, oh God, thank God I did that. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am now. Yeah.
So maybe let's say the challenging step was, putting himself up for being photographed. And then beyond that, it sounds like a very flowing journey towards applying for an acting role. So that initial step can be like, but then once you're over it, off you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably write reams about this and why that change happens and all that. But I'm just hopefully there to make people look good and bring about their maybe a different side to their personality.
Well, it sounded like you made that, or you allowed Simon to see himself in a different way. So you have obviously literally have the perspective of being a photographer behind a camera, and if you can somehow get Simon to come and stand where you are and say, "Look, this is what we can see through the camera," when you do, obviously, when you show them the photograph, that's the beauty of your photography.
Yes,
if you actually do, I mean, in coaching, I achieve that in a different way. But you actually have something physical and say, look, I can show you what I can see. Here you go.
I would probably, my way is probably more superficial. Yours has got more depth to it, I'm sure.
Well, you've just allowed somebody to think, okay, I can go and be an actor. That is not superficial.
Yeah.
So talk yourself up.
Rather that photograph then starts its journey. And it can end up, on the website, certainly in magazines or even on billboards. And then you look, you look up there and you think, oh, that's an immense feeling of satisfaction to see that people have got some value out of that moment that you work with them.
A finite moment then has this long-lasting legacy, like you said about the photograph.
Yes.
Then embarking on a journey. That's really interesting, and you have to have gone through that very intimate process of allowing you to be how you want to be when you're at your best, to capture your client at their best, and then in that lovely special moment, then you give birth to this photograph, which then goes on this journey. As you say, you see it almost like seeing someone grow up.
Yes. Well, yes, that's right. Well, I haven't got children, so I wouldn't know that. But maybe all these photographs of my little children out there.
Yeah, love it. Wow.
Yeah, that's sometimes you can easily forget that in this topsy-turvy world of money and selling and marketing, and we know that world obviously, because it's. But you can sometimes forget that. But ultimately, what is your why? My why is to see people using my photograph to better themselves.
Wow. Or using the photograph of them at their best to better themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Even better. That's even better.
It comes from working with you. This is the point. This is the special point. And that's love that you said about this is your why. Seeing people going and doing great things because they've allowed themselves to be, in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, photography is very special. I'm obviously obscenely passionate about it, and there's obviously a lot of other forms of media these days that are competing with it, and it is a marketplace, but there's still something about a photograph. Don't you not? It used to be that saying, isn't it? When the house was burning down, it would be the photographs that people would always grab, isn't it?
I think the last time I looked at a photo album, when my partner and I were first dating, and we were just trying to get to know each other. And that's when we started pulling out albums, because we hadn't seen these parts of each other's lives. And I forgot how much I enjoy actually looking at photographs, tangible photographs, leafing through pages, and it wasn't on a
Yeah.
screen. You could look up to it. I don't know. It was lovely to
Well,
do that again.
I mean, I could talk about it forever, Rob, but yeah, it is lovely, because it's it opens up a dialogue between yourself and maybe and also, as you say, when you're looking at with somebody else in photographs. But it's a dialogue. That one image, you can stare at it and immediately you start going back to the moment, and it sets it all off, doesn't it? Now that moment, that recollection might not be really what happened, but that's a photograph can do that. That a photograph can sometimes has different meanings to different people. There's no one fixed meaning with a photograph, people see it in different ways, but that's the power of a photograph, a single image. It draws you in because you see it in your own way.
Okay, right. So yeah, so being drawn into their own interpretation, or to be lost in their own way in this photograph. So we're all looking at the same photograph, we're all lost in it in a slightly different way, or a very different way. And what we're lost in a photograph of someone generally whose guard is down, who's a pure part of themselves, their essence that we talked about before. But people can have their own relationship with that person through a photograph.
Yes, exactly. I firmly believe that, and that is the power of photography. That is why it really is. There's a deep connection there.
Okay, so I'll get to that point where I want to sort of offer a life purpose statement to you.
Yes, please.
It sounds like you're saturated in who your subject is. So the saturated lens of flow is what I'm going to offer.
Wow.
Okay.
The saturated lens of flow. That's interesting. That's
who you are. So you are the saturated lens of flow. Now, we're going to come on to the impact. The impact that you have is, and there's many, we've got to just choose one, is around this you allow the personal connections with your client's greatness.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So you're the saturated lens of flow. So you are the saturated lens of flow who allows personal connections with your client's greatness.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it, Rob.
Okay, I'm just going to write it down before I forget.
Yeah, you write that down. That's my new. Can I get away with that for my new LinkedIn profile?
Absolutely. You can't just get away with it. We can prove it's true.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. So this is something you do with life purpose statements: is you try them on like jackets. And when you try a jacket on, and you tried on 10 jackets, and the 11th one, and you go, oh, okay, and it fits in the right way. It's not slightly baggy. You're not going to put up with anything here. It just fits. And a life purpose statement is there to be tried on. Now, they can evolve over time, and the only way to do this is to try it on. So,
yes, I
invite people to try it on by, you can just say this to yourself. You can write it down. You can share it with people, maybe people you work with, and just say, what do you think there's a way to describe what I do, the impact I have, and who I am. And you don't have to necessarily talk about how we've got to this point, because sometimes you don't have to. But it doesn't have to mean anything to anyone else. If you feel it really belongs and you want to take ownership over it, that's really great. Okay. So in the first person, you say, to my client. So you would say, I am the saturated lens of flow who allows a deep personal connection to my client's greatness. And if someone's trying to sell themselves and their business, and that's what you do, I can see them really, well, they already want it, but I'm saying that this is another way to look at it.
And that's lovely. Really, really, really nice. Rob, can I ask you a question?
Please do.
So we're going to be doing a photo shoot together, and we've been talking about photographing men, and
yeah,
my feelings about why men don't do it. You've been persuaded. What has persuaded you to have your photograph taken, your personal branding shoot?
Okay, so first of all, seeing your photographs. So for our audience, sometimes when Marcus, so you've obviously done a talk for our networking group, um, and just the images that you were showing there were incredible. You know, it was like going to an IMAX cinema versus looking at phones on the back of an old sort of 2 megapixel camera. It was, yeah, very impactful. And then knowing more about your process. So I have more information about you and how you work and kind of what it's like, and seeing a value in what you do for what I do, because I'm in an industry where I am the product. So people buy me to help them do what they can't do by themselves. So to go through a process that helps me speak to my audience,
Yes,
is attractive to me. So that's and plus, we get on well. That's really important. I can't work with anybody who I don't get on well with. So I think maybe you may have seen me do this. I say when I'm potentially going to onboard a client, there's a connection that's a bit like the knuckles there, and what I'm looking for is that.
yeah,
And I think we've got that. So that's taken care of. So that therefore I'm willing to go and do something which I don't normally do, which is be photographed.
We are men are fantastic. Come on, let's say it. Let's get out there and say it.
Yeah.
We should be promoting ourselves and not just carrying away thinking, oh, we don't need to do that.
And actually, I think you probably help men to want to do it.
Yes, hopefully.
I think you add a lot of things to a lot of qualities to the journey with your clients where they're going to want to do that.
Cool. Nice, thank you,
Marcus. Thank you so much. And anyone watching, you will be able to see Marcus's details in the description below the video.
Thank you.
And I think I'll have to post the pictures that we do and have to make sure that our audience see those at some point as well.
Indeed, we will, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll get to see them. But thank you, Rob. It's been an absolute pleasure to learn a little bit more about myself as well.
Yeah. So, Marcus, the Saturated Lenser Flow, thank you very much for being on the coaching channel.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.